Hey, Matt, you want to start a podcast?
Yes, let's do it. Let's go.
Welcome to the Rogue 5 podcast. I'm Steven, and we have a great episode for you today. Remember to like and subscribe. Now, sit back and relax as we listen in on the conversation.
How's the game?
Much better than yesterday.
Yeah.
I took the light rail in to save the $20+ in parking. Definitely should just do that no matter what. Got there almost an hour early, which was a good idea.
Yep.
Didn't seem as busy, so did the usual walk. And then that place right next to the DJ, like there's almost nobody there.
Oh, okay.
So I grabbed a drink. I already ate. So I was like, I don't need to worry about that. I'm just gonna grab a beer and chilled there. And as like I wouldn't say there were God moments, but when you see two people kind of standing there with food in their hands, and I didn't want to be the inconsiderate a-hole that's just hogging this table. So I mean, they're looking, and I'm like, come on, like, come here. You can sit down and eat. Stand here and eat. It's not a big deal. But they were pretty cool. There was a cool couple. A lot of the Little League baseball teams that the Diamondbacks sponsor, they were all there today. So I guess they came on the field really early on, and then they were just in that whole section in right field. But the couple that was there had their kids, and they were just taking a moment to eat, not in front of their kids, because of course they would have not been able to eat their food. So that was cool. They actually go to CCV in Central Scottsdale, which was kind of ironic. They left. There was another guy that was kind of just standing there, and same situation. He has his daughter, his grandson or grandchildren, his wife. They're all kind of sitting down there, and he's like, "Well, just hide out here if you want, man." He's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna chill because I don't want to be down there." I'm like, "Okay." And then we got into the game, kind of just chilling. There's a table, and then there's a bench where you can put your drinks right near the rail. The guy had his phone up, and the other dude he would hit the marquee, but he hit it to a point where the phone ended up falling in between like the two boards on a rail on there's like a metal piece. Like he thought it fell all the way to the seats, but it didn't.
Okay.
He got stuck under there, and we suddenly the investment was, how are we going to get this phone out? And a lot of people tried, and we ended up, there was a dad and his son and daughter were kind of walking. They had ice cream and everything, like they were part of that group. And because the whole time we were like, we got too big of arms. Like we need a kid needs to get in there and get the phone out. And that just became this big deal. Like a lot of people were invested in figuring out if we were going to get this phone out. And we found that kid and had him he was like, "Do you want to help us out?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll do it." And he was determined to get this phone out, and he got it out. And like we all started cheering. Even the DJ was kind of like, "Yeah, all right, cool, man. Like something going on over here." And that was pretty funny. And then yeah, just kind of chilled with the three there, and slowly as the game progressed and got better, we were starting to get runs. Just people kept kind of funneling in and out, and
hmm
but I stayed till the very end and took the light rail back, and yeah, it ended up working out. So and I was came back, and I nearly took a nap. I was exhausted.
I was gonna say, I was like, you've had a busy weekend with all these trips to the ballpark, and not to mention working yesterday. And I mean, it was a midday game, so you were probably you hit church and then you got jumped around on the light rail, basically.
Pretty much. Watching Formula One this morning. I was up at
Okay.
4 for whatever reason. I was up at 4.
Yeah, it happens. For once, I actually got to like full on sleep. I think I was up at like five something, but then I went back
Mm.
to sleep. Well,
What was
good.
that?
Glad you had a good time at the game, and obviously, it's always good when it's a D-backs victory. Can't complain about that.
Well, now I can't leave. Anytime I go to these games now, I got to stay all through 9 innings because you just never know.
You never know, especially after last night's game. That one was a crazy comeback.
Yeah,
Who would have thought? Top of the ninth, they're down by what, four, I think at the time, or three?
they
And
were
they,
down by three.
yeah, that's right. And they
A
rally
run
back.
was scored
Yep.
in the ninth by Milwaukee, and then yeah, they came back.
And they win 5-4.
We all got one of those.
Oh yeah. Well, now I got two.
So yeah, we definitely stayed today. It was fine. We almost get our moments.
It's fun to see our local favorites get some props there.
That's what you got, man.
What?
What?
Why are we here?
Why are we here? I maybe have a small moment, but not really.
Let
Poor dude.
Let's still share it. Let's still share the moment. What I've got for you is definitely a story that I didn't think it was a God moment. Like in the
Yeah.
moment, it was like right after it happened, I realized how much it was a God moment. I had told you earlier that I was going to go shooting. I went to the indoor range and was probably only there maybe a half hour. I didn't even do the full range time. And decided that because I was bringing gear that I wasn't on my motorcycle, I took the Mustang. So I'm in the Mustang and, got the air on, everything's good. Car's running fine.
Okay.
And so when I'm leaving, I get in and I'm noticing there's a little bit of a sputter or something going on. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm at an incline. I know that the fuel injection system uh, isn't pumping fuel the way I'd want it to. Like it's almost like it's trying to hold back a little bit. So
Mm,
sometimes it stalls for that reason.
okay.
And it stalled, which is normal. Like every time I've taken that car out, I get a stall at least once. And it's usually in a parking lot. And this was no exception. Get the car back up and running again, and I start going. And every time I'm getting close to a point where I need to pull out into the road or stoplight, things like that, I'm just noticing the car needs a little extra gas. So it's not just hit the gas, it's like you're really punching the gas just a little bit more. I get onto, what am I on? 54th Priest. Get on the road and I'm heading down back towards Chandler Boulevard.
Okay.
And I'm recognizing the sputtering, these things that are going on. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try to maintain speed. God, if you can just be with me, please, to let the lights turn green. I don't want to stop. I just like, as long as I can keep the car going, kind of keep the gas going through, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And so, sure enough, as I'm going, every light turns green and I'm just cruising right along about 40. And I'm like, oh, good, thank you. So, I get past Warner. I'm going down. I got to pass somebody, come on back. And then Ray has a red light. And I'm like, oh, uh-oh, okay, hold on. And so the light turns green. So I pop over again, past the people that were there. And I'm going on. I'm like, okay, good. All the other lights are not turning. I should be good to go. And I see Chandler's red. And I'm like, okay, Chandler's red, but I've made it this far. I'm a couple miles from the house. Like this won't be too bad. I should be able to get over the hill and I should be home free. And as I'm approaching Chandler Boulevard, I'm making my way to slow down and I have no brakes.
Oh boy.
I'm going 40 and I have no brakes. I'm approaching a red light.
Yeah.
No brakes.
Uh,
Emergency brake is struggling to slow me
y-
down.
uh,
And so I'm now going into this intersection at 40 miles an hour.
yeah.
Red light against me. And all I
Uh,
do is I look and I'm like, please let there not be cars. And I immediately go in there and make the right turn to try to slow the car down. But I'm like skidding basically because it's 40. When you should probably
yeah.
go in like, 20 or 10.
20, yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so, I'm skidding around. I make it into the third lane. No one's there, by the way.
That's good.
So I didn't cut anybody off. There was no close call. I just happened to turn and then I come back to the lane and there's this couple that is on the sidewalk and they're right where I want to pull in to get off the road so I can figure out how to slow down in this parking lot. They're coming along. I kid you not. By the time I coasted just right, they had just passed the threshold and I'm like skidding in right behind them, probably like going 25 at this point. And they're like, "Oh, look at the car." And I'm like, "I can't stop. Don't stop looking at me. Like, just let me go." Get into the parking lot. I'm still not slowing down. Like little by little I am, but it's still too close to comfort and I can't brake. So then I see that in the parking lot there's a decline that kind of goes back up to an incline. And it's just the way the parking lot is for like flooding. So I take the incline and then as I'm coming back up, the car rolls to a stop. And I immediately go right into park
Wow.
and I get the car stopped.
Yikes, dude.
Let me tell you. That was like that entire thing was less than a minute. I mean, it happened so fast.
Yeah.
And I stopped the car and I'm just sitting there and I could feel my adrenaline. I could feel like the aches and pains and the anxiety of what had happened. Like it just flashed right before me. I immediately go, it is by the grace of God that I am here right now. I am so thankful that it was me behind the wheel and nobody else driving or even with me.
Yeah.
And that nobody got hurt. Everyone was safe. God cleared the path to make sure there was no one there. He had me on the exact pace I needed to be on all the way down to make sure it was clear because the brakes were working because I was still slowing down at those intersections
Mhm.
and the brakes worked. So somewhere between Ray and Chandler, those brakes failed. When I finally get to the stop, I'm like, okay. Then I start to notice that the car is like having a hard time being on the incline again. So then I'm like, okay, I'll just stop the car. I stop the car, get out, and I see brake fluid oozing out from the front tire. I ripped a brake line, is what it is. And chances
Yeah.
are, I mean, it's a almost 60-year-old car, so who knows when that brake? I haven't fixed the brake line in 3 years, so I'm pretty sure it's whoever's, that thing was just old,
Hmm.
and it took it out in the heat. It was in the 90s today, so there's just a good chance that between the heat, the wear and tear, and time, the brake line ripped and it
Yeah.
leaked out. But it happened when I was in the car driving. And you don't think 40 miles an hour is fast until you have no brakes.
So you know you can't slow down. Yeah.
And you know that the only thing you have is momentum. And remember, this isn't like some fiberglass car.
No.
These are metal, heavy freaking cars.
Yeah.
These are heavy cars.
Yeah.
And oh, yeah, it took a moment to get through that. And so I get on with roadside assistance and do all that. It takes like an hour, for the guy to come out. And I'm hesitant to like talk to anybody about it. And then this tow truck guy came, by the way, totally cool dude. He was admiring the car, number one, and then he saw it. He saw the brake line and he saw the fluid oozing out. He goes, "Oh yeah, no, it looks like your brake line just ripped and the fluid came out, which is why you lost your brakes." He goes, "Your brakes are probably fine. You just need to get a new line and refill it, and you'll be good." So I was like, "Yeah, that's what I figured."
Yeah.
So I'm just, but I mean, he got the car up and running, took it back to the house, even helped push the car into the garage, and I was just like, you know what, cool, dude. It was a crazy moment here.
I think you got a couple God moments out of that because,
Hmm.
you definitely, for one, yeah, the vehicle, I'm glad you're okay. Glad you're all
Thank you.
right and glad everything's okay with proverbially with the vehicle. But of course, what does it matter if as long as you're good, you can always get another Mustang. Jesus moments, just, from taking the wheel. And a lot of people take that for granted, I think,
Hmm.
on certain moments, good or bad. There's people that are in accidents, and then there's people and they think, well, that was a blessing. So we get those moments all the time where people a lot of times people say it's luck, but I think it's just God pulling people out of potential situations because their time's not done yet here. So good on you.
Yeah.
And at
Thank
least
you.
at
Thank
least
you.
as soon as you stopped and we got out and called the tow truck, it became very evident what was going on. When
Hmm.
before you were thinking it can't be a freak accident that I ran out of, that my brakes aren't working and be like, oh, well, the line is messed up.
Hmm.
And I said, well, that's from longevity, wear and tear. So it seems like a moment there of like clarity,
Hmm.
but there's also this, like there are moments. Then I think that's a check to ourselves, especially coming from a place like, with this podcast, trying to be more like a Christian man in the
Hmm.
world. there are moments where we as men, we deal with our struggles and our burdens and all this, and we think, and society and culture teaches us, oh, you got it. That's all you, man. That's
Right.
you, your burdens. That's the alone,
Right.
right? You'll figure
Right.
that out. We're not taught to be vulnerable. We're not taught to talk it out. And there are some instances where you might not want to because that memory is painful, or maybe it doesn't need to be discussed with a group setting. But I think you had another humbling moment where it's like, yeah, you found the connection between the car and our own self is, hey, if there is something going on, like, do get help. Do get that somebody you should call. You should always have an accountability partner. You should always have somebody you want to call. And it may not always be a spouse.
Right.
I don't think God designed it that way. I think God designed the world we live in that, especially for the same genders we apply, like God, that unity is between a man and a woman as a helper, but not all the time is the help. I need to offload my burdens to my spouse, or I need to offload a pain or an ailment to my spouse. You want them to help you in that I support you, but also, you probably need other Christian men around you more often than not, because they can kind of get what's going on more than perhaps your spouse could.
100% agree. We need this. We're built for community. We're built for this space that we need to encourage each other, Christian men to Christian men. There's that passage in the Bible that talks about iron sharpens iron. This is part of it, and even with our Rogue 5 group, that we're not directly affiliated with any one church,
Yeah.
but we do run where, like, hey, if a church wants to send someone here, we're going to give them Christian values and foundation as a piece of what we do for support. But we don't care if you come from church A, B, or C. Like, that part doesn't matter to us. In that sense, it's, we're looking at the brotherhood of just Christian men, regardless of what church or denomination. It's like, just get here so you can get the recovery and the support that you're looking for, and resources. I think that's the other part too, is
Hmm.
when you're among other men of faith, you begin to realize how much you can share information and resources with each other, and you're not in this alone. Uh,
Yeah. That's good. I think that needs to be a focal point going forward right now.
and being able to tell that story that says that this is not a young guy's problem. This is a sin that doesn't discriminate against your age. It doesn't discriminate against your race or your culture or your gender. It doesn't discriminate. It can come at you at any time. My days are numbered, but I don't know when. So let me approach life differently. And even with all that, still susceptible to sin.
As we all are, man. As we
Yep.
all are.
Thank you for joining the Rogue 5 podcast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and comment with your thoughts. For the Rogue 5 podcast, I'm Steven. Stay blessed.